There are so many popular productivity frameworks out there that you can use to get things done. There's getting things done, there's Zen to done, there is bullet journaling, there is work cycling, there's interstitial journaling. I could go on. And these systems are really inspiring. There are countless videos on how to set up these systems and examples of these systems. There are books to read, there are communities, and while these systems can be really helpful, often people struggle to get them to work. In this video, I want to talk about some common things that people do wrong when it comes to setting up their productivity systems. Things that lead to you giving up on productivity systems or things that stop them from ever working at all. Reason number one, you have too many next actions. Most productivity systems are going to tell you to capture everything because of the Zeigarnik effect. The Zeigarnik effect is a psychological phenomenon where your brain simply cannot stop thinking about incomplete tasks. It's like your mind feels this constant need to resurface your to-dos in case you forget them. Writing things down eases the Zeigarnik effect, so you're not waking up thinking about that form that you need to complete, and you're not thinking about whether to buy oat milk after work during the middle of a meeting. But sometimes when it comes to capturing our to-dos, we go overboard. Most people who don't brain dump regularly can brain dump 100 to 300 tasks in one sitting because there is so much on their mind. But if every time you're going to choose your to-dos for the day, you're looking at a list of 100 items, you're just going to get overwhelmed. You're not going to be able to prioritize easily. And if you're using the getting things done system, the ideal is to scan your tasks and pick them intuitively. But when you have over 100 to-dos on your list, this gets old really quickly. Instead, make sure that you have a heavily used someday list within your productivity system. Anything that you aren't planning on doing in the next 10 days can go on your someday list. Try limiting your to-do list to 20 items or less, make it scannable. 100 or more items on your to-do list is just exhausting and confusing. If you have a weekly review set up, in your weekly review, scan your someday list, put those items in your main list, that way you don't miss out on anything. Reason number two is that you're not dealing honestly with time. So the planning fallacy is a term that describes the human tendency to constantly underestimate how long it'll take us to do things. It's a key reason why productivity systems that ask you to plan and block out your time fail. If you've ever tried time blocking, you're probably familiar with this fallacy, even if you don't know it by name. In the book Thinking Fast and Slow, the author found that you estimate your time poorly when you fail to consider how long similar tasks have taken in the past. You have no historical data, or you assume that you're not going to run into any complications or blocks while completing a task. For any productivity system to work, you need to be incredibly honest with yourself when it comes to your time, when it comes to how long you take to get things done. If you don't, you're really just doing a disservice to yourself. In the book Work Clean, The Life-Changing Power of Mise en Place, the author describes creating an honesty log to get more honest with your time. So write a list of all of the regular and reoccurring tasks that tend to fill up your days, and then track how long you take to get those tasks done over a period of time. Create historical data so that you don't estimate so badly when you time block. Another thing that you can do is give yourself a range, which is really helpful for creative tasks that tend to take different amounts of time on different days. So for example, for me, a script on a really good day can take like 2 hours to write. A script on a so-so day might take like 3 to 4 hours to write. So that's my range that I can work within. I don't plan to get all of my scripts done within 2 hours. I give myself the longer period of time. I sort of plan for the worst. If I script in less time, amazing. I have more time to do other things. I can get my tasks done quicker. If I don't, that's fine because I planned for it. The third reason is that you've made things too complicated. Every step of your productivity routines should feel purposeful. If you're doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff to feel productive, you're not going to be able to keep up with things. If you're planning for the sake of planning or organizing for the sake of organizing, but there's no actual tangible benefit, it's a waste of time. It shouldn't exist. If every single time you enter a new task into your task manager, you also need to enter the energy level associated with the context, the priority, the urgency, the due date, the start date, it's just going to be way too hard for you to ever maintain. If your weekly reset takes you 5 hours, it's not sustainable. Approach any of your productivity systems with a minimalist mindset. Ask, what is essential? What makes the biggest impact in my week? If I could only do a weekly reset in 25 minutes, what would I keep? What would I get rid of? If you are hesitant to let a piece of your productivity routine go, just trial it for a little while and see what impact it makes not having it there, to see if it's really essential in your routine. routine. Reason number 4 is because you're not being consistent. A productivity system is like a project in itself. It needs regular maintenance in order to be useful. Ideally, it should get as little maintenance as possible as you can afford to give it, but it needs to be maintained. Otherwise, it becomes this thing that you just don't want to deal with. A project manager could not do zero work on a project, come back to the project plan, and expect things to be all good to go. They would need to rejig. Similarly, if you leave your productivity systems for a few weeks and then expect to be able to just go back, pick up where you left off, that's not usually how it works. Going back to systems that contain living, breathing, in the moment tasks inconsistently isn't going to work. Inconsistency with your routines goes hand in hand with all of the other things in this video. It could be because you don't have a strong why for why you're doing it. And if it doesn't feel purposeful, you're not going to go back to it. It could be because it's too complicated and too long, so you don't want to go back to it. It might just be because you are forgetting it and you haven't ingrained the habit and you need to create some kind of accountability. But regardless, consistency is important. It's key in having a system that works. Reason number 5 is that you have no context, or your contexts are not real. I recently put up this photo on Instagram and the caption says, if you are setting goals and not scheduling time to work on them, how are they actually going to get done? The same thing goes for your to-dos. If you're writing down to-dos but you don't have a time in your mind as to when they will get done, they won't get done. Personally, I like creating batch periods in my life where I know that I will get certain tasks done. So I have my life admin day, which is a batch day where I get all of my life admin tasks done. I also have previously talked about content week, which has turned into writing week and creation week. And in writing week, I get all my writing tasks done. In creation week, I get all of my photos, my videos done. I also have a life planning context. So when I hit my monthly reset, I can visit my life planning day. I also have a journaling context. So when I'm journaling, I can visit that context and I can journal on whatever I've written about. I talk about this concept a bit more in depth in my video on little upgrades to make to your productivity routines. If it's something that you're interested in deep diving on, I'm gonna have a link to that video on the screen as well as down below. I appreciate you so very much and I will see you soon.